Okay, it is just before 10 o'clock on Monday night. Patriots are back from Chicago with a big win. I am back from Chicago with a big L, picking the Bears to win running away. And what you have here on Monday night, Tuesday, or Wednesday, whenever you listen to this, is another jam-packed Monday night episode. So we have film notes from the Patriots 19-3 win. We have a Drake Maye breakdown. We have mailbag answers for you. We have travel tales held for the very end of this episode, so you can skip if you like. Oh, and a little bit more on the Kendrick Bourne situation, which is not like a situation that demands a room, okay? But it's a little tidbit, question mark, things that were left in Chicago, which probably would have been a bigger deal had they lost. Instead, the Patriots have their most resounding win of the season. And I want to start right there because as I was coming back home, actually, in Logan, going up an escalator where their guy Doug Hyde, someone behind me says, "Hey, how do you think Pat's Nation feels about that?" And I look at this guy, very nice guy, chatted with him for like another minute, going, "Well, I hope you're happy. And I hope you at home are happy because what are we here for again, if not the actual football being played? This is not about the draft. It's not about free agency. It's not how you treat 2K or Madden, where you sit in the season if you're sucking and you're figuring out how to rebuild. No, this is for the football. And the Patriots, again, just had their biggest win of the season. 16 points, not in any kind of doubt in the second half. And I get that Chicago sucks. Like, that is not lost in me how much the Bears blow. They're poorly coached. Their offensive line makes the Patriots look like all their guys should go to the Pro Bowl. And no one watching that Bears team for the first time on Sunday would have ever guessed that they were 4-4 going into that game. But more often than not, and this is the reason I picked the Bears to win last week, talent wins in the NFL. More often than not, desperation wins in the NFL. The Bears have more talent, and they had more desperation going into kickoff because they had just lost 2 straight. They're about to head into the second half, the hardest part of their schedule. All their division games still left to play. They were at home where they had not lost in more than a year, and yet the Patriots beat them. Not only beat them, but beat them badly. Again, 19-3, and never really in doubt in that second half. And as I wrote after the game, in doing so, they showed us something new. Because in my opinion, I couldn't say yet that the Patriots could simply just show up, wrestle a better team to the ground, and choke them out. Okay. And what happened Sunday is exactly that. This was not a one possession game. This was not a win in week 1, the least telling time of the season. This was, can you mid-season, when everyone knows who everyone else is and how good they are, how bad they are, beat a better team? And the Patriots did. They were tougher. They were smarter. Okay. They were more resilient. They were better coached. Okay. And we'll get into some of these numbers. But the smarter point starts with their only touchdown of the game, which was Jalen Polk's delayed release into the flat. Bad eyes by Tyreek Stevenson, Bears corner, who's just famous for making the worst mistakes at the worst possible time. See the Hail Mary the Bears gave up a couple of weeks ago. And they scored on that. Something midweek, paid off on Sunday, not to mention the 144 rushing yards, the 71% of snaps played in man coverage. This was tougher, better, smarter football. But a couple more stats for you, because I tweeted them out already. Caleb Williams finished with 69 net passing yards. Yes, not so nice. 69 net passing yards. The Bears had 0 explosive plays, and the Pats missed 2 tackles and basically nothing else. So the crazy part is, again, sticking big picture here, were it not for a lost overtime period in Tennessee, we are talking about a 3-game winning streak for the Patriots. Yes. Now, there's no question, obviously, playing the Jets and then the Titans and the Bears, their level of competition is completely cratered, right? All of those teams might join them in the top 10 of the draft come April. Okay, right now the Jets and Titans are in there with Patriots. But it's no accident the Patriots are playing their best when they play this style. And that style is what they rediscovered in Chicago. Running the ball, more play action, and a shit ton of man-to-man coverage. Man up type of football. This is progress. And for a football team that was 1-6, as we're talking here in this podcast, having bigger issues in culture, and this runs deeper, and the losses are just the symptoms because they have bigger problems elsewhere. This is important. That's to be celebrated. So to the guy behind me in the escalator at Logan, and to you right now, I hope very much you are happy. 3-7 record, totally aside. All right, time to talk Drake Maye. And after that, offense, defense, game balls, what would NFL film say, mailbag, and as I said, travel tales after that. But first, I want you to know that the Patriots have still 4 more home games. And if you're going to go to any of those home games, you need to go to one place first, and that is Game Time, okay? Because at Game Time, you've heard me say this before, They not only give you the lowest price guarantee of tickets you were going to find elsewhere, and that's if you want to see the Pats play the Rams next Sunday, or the Colts after that, or the Chargers are coming into town. Oh, or how about a Christmas or holiday gift? The Bills after that. If you find a lower ticket elsewhere, which you won't, Game Time will give you 110% of the difference for finding that lower price. And when you look at Game Time, no fees, no delays. It's all in pricing right up front with Game Time Picks. It filters out all the fluff, all the BS, okay? And while you're there, check out your seat. If you want to compare section 316 in Gillette versus 310 or row 1 or whatever it might be, you can do that all at Game Time. So download the Game Time app today, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off. That's $20. Handed to you from Game Time when you use code CLNS. Terms to apply. You can create an account at Game Time and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Now it's Drake Maye time. So Drake Maye goes 15 to 25 for 184 yards, touchdown and a pick. He was throwing an accurate pass about 71% of the time. Not very good under pressure here against the Bears. 3 of 10, 21 yards and a sack. You did like he only took 1 sack despite facing, get this, almost identical pressure rate that Caleb Williams had. Caleb Williams, took 9 sacks. Drake Maye had 1. Handled the blitz well. This game, to me, though, was not as much about the numbers and the pressure and this and that. It was about Drake Maye testing his own limits. And this cut both ways for the Patriots, right? You saw the ridiculous 28-yard completion on the corner out to Austin Hooper in the first play of their second drive, going, did he fit that in there? Okay, well, he did. Then you saw the near touchdown to KJ Osborne, who, if he had not stepped out of bounds first and then committed an illegal touching penalty, would have had a touchdown that you would have seen on every Drake Maye highlight reel for the rest of his career. The last wasn't a touchdown, it was a penalty people forget. So on the heels of those throws, he makes a stupid interception. And he called it, I'm just trying to throw the ball away. Look, he's a good kid. Watching that tape today, I think you can very clearly see him try to make a last-second look over to Austin Hooper and fit this ball in there, because why not? He's a 22-year-old kid at the peak of his physical powers right now as he learns the rest of the game and tries to find those limits. It goes instead to TJ Edwards in the easiest interception he'll have in a while. And that's why I say he's trying to find his limits. Not to mention deep throws to Kayshon Boutte, one rolling left, throwing back all the way across the field to his right, okay, with basically a flick of the wrist, and it's a little underthrown, but still goes 40 yards. Then you had another where he takes a huge hit after rolling out, stopping, and that's a little underthrown. But he's going to find out, can I make those throws going to my left and back across the body? Because he found out by trying with those first 2 completions, one to Hooper and then the near completion to Osborne. So I think a better defense would have made him pay for some of those plays. And you're looking at a turnover-worthy play rate of almost 10%. You can't have that long-term. Again, 1 out of every 10 dropbacks cannot be risking the ball going to the other team. Drake Maye has to protect the ball better, period. But on the positive side, you had also throws like the 23-yarder on the dig route to Kayshon Boutte right before the end of the half. Again, pinpoint throw, beating man coverage, need to have it kind of situation, and he delivers. Like, I do not think all of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL could have made that throw. And granted, they had a good call. It's a credit to AVP, who we'll get to later. Drake Maye made that throw. They get up, spike the ball, 1 second left, 3 points. That was the field goal that Joey Slide drilled after the play, but really was only possible because of the 23-yarder that Drake Maye delivered on that pass play. Last thing here, I mentioned he only took the 1 sack. He was under pressure about 35% of the time. Caleb Williams is actually 36 to 37. This is all per my charting. You'll get different numbers at PFF and Next Gen Stats. I have it. I can tell you why. If you ever want to argue, they're right here. That's why I do it on my own. Drake Maye sensed pressure better pre-snap and post-snap than Caleb Williams did. He beat 2 blitzes on quick little curl routes outside to Kayshon Boutte, recognizing it pre-snap. Post-snap, 9% of his pressure went from a hurry or a hit to a sack. We talk about pressure to sack ratio. We did this during the draft process. Very key for quarterbacks. How often are you taking a bad situation and making it worse? Caleb Williams only had worse situations. Again, 9 sacks on what amounted to, I think it was around 14, 15 pressures. Drake Maye took 1 sack under the same amount of pressure, 9.1%. So when you consider that, it's kind of the more unseen, but that was the biggest difference between the two. Drake Maye felt as much pressure, but you didn't see it at home because he either got rid of the ball, beat it pre-snap, or occasionally was making stupid throws they didn't have to pay for, but largely was the better quarterback making the smarter decisions before and after. I said one last thing. I got to get this number out. 5 of 7 for 78 yards and a touchdown plus a pick off of play action. Alex Van Pelt said he wanted to see his ball handling, giggle here if you're 13 years old, on play action improve a little bit, right? Drake Maye's been under center. That footwork's down. He's getting used to some reads. But the difference is those play facts have to be so exact. How many times did you see Tom Brady or Peyton Manning watching a primetime game and they do the side-by-side shot of this is what a run play looks like. This is what the run fake looks like. And they're almost identical. Drake Maye's closing that gap with the handoffs, and you saw that pay off, not only because he's making the throws like we talked about to Austin Hooper downfield, but he's making the defense have to respect it, even though up until this game, the Patriots really hardly had been running the ball well. Obviously, 144 yards against the Bears changes that, but some of these play action completions were before they said, oh, no, we're running the ball today, and you need to respect this. And I think the difference was tightening of the footwork, better play fakes, and just more reps for a kid making his 5th start in the NFL. Overall, offensively, this is how they want to play, okay? It's a run-first plan, 68% run rate on first down, a 70% success rate when they were running the ball on the first down. So let's say that again. Basically, 2 out of every 3 first down plays, they're running the ball. And then a higher percentage of that, it was successful, meaning they're gaining at least 4 yards on those carries. That puts you ahead of the chains, which we know is how the Patriots want to play. But beyond that, the plays that they were running, you had some outside zone at the start of the first half and in the second, and counters off of that, not actual like counter play, but pin and pull, inside zone, stuff you need to be good at if you want to major in outside zone. Otherwise, teams load up against that. Well, what's your plan B? Okay. They hit on their plan Bs, and I tweeted out some clips of this where pin and pull is basically outside zone, but it takes an offensive lineman pulling ahead of the running back as their lead blocker to get extra blockers out on the edge, as opposed to everyone moving in one direction. You get a little bit of that, but a little bit more help numbers-wise on the front side of the play. That's pin and pull to work off of outside zone. So the fact they're hitting these different schemes matters because, again, it gives them different answers. Now, the other part about this was, we know Alex Van Pelt wants to play through multi-tight end sets. You saw this in crunch time at Tennessee, their last 3 plays at the end of regulation. Now, again, you wanted bigger body types. We talked about this last week, but that's when you find out who you are and what you're about and what you want to do and how you want to play. That's how Alex Van Pelt wants to run offense. And the split between 11 personnel, 3 receivers and 1 tight end versus 12 personnel, 2 receivers and 2 tight ends was pretty close. But when you look at the production from those 2 different groupings, the success rate in 12 personnel has been higher in virtually every single game. And this was no exception because they were running the ball with a 64% success rate from multiple tight ends. Again, the bottom line is if you don't like all these numbers, the bigger they are, the better they are, okay? And it's not just because of that 64% success rate when they were running for multiple tight ends, but also the play action passes. Austin Hooper's 28-yarder that we just talked about. The 24-yarder, which is another coverage bust. Thank you, Tyreek Stevenson. Also from 12 personnel. Again, this is how they want to play. Alex Van Pelt's offense led the league in intended air yards last year, bulking up, running the ball, diversified run game. Off of that, we're going deep, and that's it. That's what you saw here. Drake Maye didn't always pull the trigger and hasn't, and that's smart. That's some of the discipline you haven't seen from guys like Caleb Williams, frankly. But this was a reminder. This is how they want to play. Not just because they're ahead of the chains, not just because they're running the ball, but because they have the complements to their main stuff, outside zone, with inside zone and pin and pull, as well as the play action shots off of that, which really, it's cool that you can establish run and dominate the line of scrimmage. Teams that get explosive plays win games. And ask the Bears, because they had 0, and they lost big. We get deeper into the offense here. Not a great game for the skill position players. Here are the broken tackles broken down. 3 for Ramondre Stevenson, 2 for Antonio Gibson, 2 for JaMychal Hasty. That's it. None for the tight ends, none for the receivers. Everything that was there was by design, and there was nothing really outside of structure except for Drake Maye. So, his scrambles are limited, and that's fine. Up front, offensive tackles, very good run blocking. Not as good in pass protection. 3 pressures allowed for Vidarian Lowe, 3 for DeMontre Jacobs. Mike Onwenu also had a couple of hurries, 1 for Michael Jordan, the left guard. None for Ben Brown, who was like, okay. But all told, the biggest story for that offensive line, not only was it continuity after half of us spent stories being like, oh, look, Mike Unwin is a left guard in practice. He wasn't during the game. It was that together they had some of their finest run blocking. That's what this game was about offensively, because it was only 19 points, just one touchdown. But this was progress 1,000,000%. And a lot of that progress, as we know, and if you've been listening, is because they love to run behind Mike Unwin in key situations. They averaged 4.9 yards per carry going behind Onwenu directly on Sunday. They also went behind him on that fourth down. And some of their pet plays when, okay, we'll load up the tight ends to one side, the left side, away from Onwenu, and then we'll just go behind him because that gives him a one-on-one, or him and Jacobs a one-on-one or two-on-two. Those aren't working as well, but when the chips are down, they're going behind 71, okay? And that worked well enough. Now, again, the offensive tackles helped out a little bit, not so much in pass protection. And it was really just the fact that they couldn't sync up the drives when they were running the ball effectively, which was really to start both of the halves, with the drives where they were pass protecting well. Because again, Drake Maye was under pressure about 35, 36% of the time. Not great, okay? But what made up for that was better field position, the explosive plays to Austin Hooper that we talked about, and a couple to Kayshon Boutte, who again, I've said, you got to show me more. You got to show me more. The kid's doing it, okay? The only people that played more snaps than Kayshon Boutte on Sunday were all 5 offensive linemen and Drake Maye. That's it. Not Hunter Henry, not Ramondre Stevenson, not Jalen Polk, not anybody. So he had the 23-yard catch. His only 2 incompletions on 6 targets, more than anybody else, were these deep throws that we talked about, a little bit risky for Drake Maye. He's producing in a way that he's earning that opportunity, not only with the targets, but his total playing time. Other notes among the receivers, Mario Douglas got down to 42% of the offensive share in terms of playing time. Don't love that. His lowest for the season in games that he's finished. We all understand why. He's only in there in 3 receiver sets, something that I've objected to. But despite that, Alex Van Pelt is feeding him in a way, thank God. And finally, on screens, some trick plays that we've seen where it's just designer plays. We need to get our best yards after catch player in space with the ball. They're doing that. I am curious to see, though, where his playing time goes from here, because 42% is just too low. Now, why was that so low? Well, they rotated a lot at receiver. And when they were in 12 personnel, which was just under half the time, it was typically Jalen Polk and Kayshon Boutte. When they go to 11 personnel with their 3 receivers, they often pulled Polk, and it was Boutte, it was KJ Osborne, and Demario Douglas. Now, the next question is, okay, where's Kendrick Bourne? And I tweeted about this. We will get to that at the end of the episode, I promise. Speaking of the last receiver, though, Javon Baker, 4 snaps. I guess the point is to just get his feet wet and then say you got his feet wet. He was not targeted. They're doing very little for him. It might just be a carrot to keep him involved and get his attention. I think him not playing basically at all on offense as a super explosive guy 10 games into his career for a rebuilding team that is prioritizing playing time for the young players and he still can't get any, says everything you need to know about what is probably happening behind the scenes. This is nothing egregious or malicious. It's just to say that they're doing their best to hand him snaps, and he just won't take it for whatever reason. So that's it. That was the offense. 19 points, not great. Running the ball better, good. Drake Maye, up and down. We'll have a little bit more on Drake Maye in the mailbag later. In the meantime, it is time to remind you that even when the Patriots lose, you can still win at PrizePicks, because PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. You can pick guys on your fantasy team. You can pick players on the Patriots, people facing the Patriots, whatever it is. All you have to do is build a lineup. 2 to 6 players. You look at the stats, you go more or less. Last week, I went 1-on-1. I said Drake Maye is going to be more than 0.5 touchdown passes against Chicago. That's going to happen. Happened in the first half. I also said more than DeAndre Swift, 71 rushing yards. And you could look at me and point and say, a-hole. But I think you would have made the same pick last week. So if you are confident in your own picks or more confident in yours than mine, go ahead and play at PrizePicks, because you can make all your picks in less than 60 seconds, turning your takes into money all season long. And if you can make as few as 4 correct picks in the same lineup, you can win up to 100 times your money. That's it. As few as 4 correct picks. So sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. You just have to play, and it's guaranteed. You can even use Venmo. That's what I've been doing lately. Fast, secure, and easy. Get your money back in 15 minutes. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS for that $50 bonus. Again, it's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. The defense obviously ran the game in Chicago. 9 sacks. That was the headline, right? Well, here are some numbers on top of that. 1 yard. That is the total number of net passing yards that the Bears gained when the Patriots blitzed, which they did 13 times. Meaning, how many yards did you pass for? How many yards did you lose on sacks? When you do that very complicated math, the equation spits out the number 1. That is the number of yards the Bears gained when the Patriots blitzed. And again, 13 out of 41 dropbacks, higher than normal, somewhere in 30%. But it's not crazy amount. What was crazy was the coverage backing that. And when you go down the 9 sacks, you go, okay, Keon White won pretty handily on his really quickly. Jelani Tavai won his one-on-one. Jeremiah Farms did initially and then had to kind of clean up on the back end. Everything else was the coverage sack. It was cleaning up someone else's pressure. Or it's Caleb Williams holding onto the ball way too freaking long. And not in the sense that like, oh, everyone's covered, I should force a throw. No. I'm not advocating that. Just throw the ball away. Do what Drake Maye did. Extend it a little bit. Granted, he only had 2 throwaways. But he had the same pressure rate, almost identical pressure rate to Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams, because he just can't take off the Superman cape, was far worse than Drake Maye. Now, again, Chicago's a mess. It's terrible. But the reason he also didn't have anyone open and should have just checked it down and thrown it away is because the Patriots played the stickiest man-to-man coverage, the highest rate of man-to-man coverage I think I've ever seen covering this team now going toward the end of my 7th season. 71% of their passing snaps, the Patriots were in man-to-man coverage. This is 1st and 10. This is 2nd and 6. This is 3rd and 12. They're saying, we're not afraid of Roma Dunze. We don't really care about DJ Moore. Cole Kmet, go nuts. Here's Del Pettis. Here's Marte Mapu. Jalen Hawkins is going to be back there, but you're not really bothered by that. You just have to beat our guys one-on-one, and they could not. So that's where it starts. Because, again, 3 of the 9 sacks, when you go back and review them, are really, this guy won instantaneously. Oh, I forgot one. There was a scheme sack for Del Pettis, came off the edge unblocked. So 4 out of the 9, fewer than half. Everything else, though, was really about coverage and quarterback play. And Christian Gonzalez didn't even shadow DJ Moore. He got help on 1 double from Jonathan Jones when they were in the Bears were in plus territory. That was it. He stuck in the boundary, parked himself in the short side of the field. So the Bears can move their receivers. Gonzalez was there. And that basically forced the Bears to throw elsewhere. And you would think, well, yeah, Marcus Jones, Jonathan, I like them, but the Bears should feel good about those matchups. Oh, no. They allowed a combined 3 catches in man-to-man coverage. Marcus Jones and Jonathan Jones did. Mind you, Jonathan Jones was also playing free safety with Jalen Hawkins. So this defense that said, we're just going to man up and you have to beat us, stood tall and again held not only Caleb Williams to 3 points and 69 net passing yards, fewer yards than the Bears got on the ground, okay, but held them to 1 yard when they said, we're going to play man-to-man coverage and we're going to rush at least 5 at you and let's see what you can do. And the answer was nothing. So a hat tip to DeMarcus Covington, a hat tip to Brendan Schooler. Only played 5 snaps, but this cool quarter package, meaning they played 7 defensive backs. And they call it Longhorn, where he's the spy. He also got a sack. He did an excellent job balancing, okay, pressure versus am I just going to hang around, make sure he doesn't escape. He got 2 pressures. Okay, that's more than most of the guys in the front 7 had, even on the night where they had 9 sacks. He had a sack and a quarterback hit. So good job by Brendan Schooler. Here's a pressure breakdown. Anthony Jennings I had down for 4 pressures. Keon White had 3. Dietrich Wise had 2, both sacks. Schooler had 2. Jelani Tavai 1. Jeremiah Farms, who balled out, had 1. Pettis had a sack. Joe Giles Harris with a quarterback hit. And again, that's what this was about. It was saying we're going to play man-to-man coverage. And up front, whether we're in base defense, or we're in dime, or we're in 3-quarter nickel, or quarter, whatever it is, we're going to play man, and you have to beat us. And they couldn't do it. So that starts in the back. But again, Farms, who I mentioned, balled out. He had the sack. He had 2 run stuffs. And against the run, again, the Bears got some decent gains in that first half. It wasn't like they went away from it. What happened was the only runs they really got where they would try this late motion with the tight end to create an extra gap on the outside, where teams have really tried to hammer the Patriots on the outside, right? Get Marco Wilson, get Jonathan Jones, get Mark Garcius Jones involved in the run game. It's been successful. Tennessee ran for a lot of yards doing exactly that. But the only runs that Chicago really got were when they brought the tight end over and snapped it almost immediately to create an extra gap, and the Patriots just didn't shift over or adjust. Very fixable problem. And they did. And they stopped and held the Bears to under 4 yards to carry Well, they ran it up for 144 themselves. That said basically everything you need to know. But it was just a great, dominant overall game. And one last hat tip, because not only was he a new father on Friday, I don't know if this was new dad strength. Okay. Jelani Tavai, a sack, a pass deflection, playing off ball on the end, play 100% of the snaps. The only other guy to do that was Christian Gonzalez. So great job by him. Now, does he get a game ball? Because that's where we're at here in the episode. No, he does not. I'm maybe it's just because the guy went to Friends University and we don't talk about him at all. Jeremiah Farms Jr. gets a game ball for me. Again, you have to watch the tape. Not only is he destroying a double team to get under for one of his 2 run stuffs and then getting a sack and these effort plays and holding up sometimes this very boring 2 gap and his other snaps on Sunday. The guy's doing this down after down after down in different packages and in a way that's completely overlooked. So for today, he gets a spotlight, first game ball to Jeremiah Farms Jr. The other one goes to the secondary. Again, it's hard to highlight one player. Like you talk about the 9 sacks. The guys up front, who gets more if you were a pass rusher? I can't pick one of the secondary. Christian Gonzalez gave up 1 catch. It's right at the start of the second half, 18-yarder. Fine, whatever. Again, Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones give up 3 combined in man-to-man coverage. A couple more aside from that, but we're the sifting the blame on zone coverage gets very, very messy very quickly. Anyway, they were outstanding. Okay, you would have bet a lot that the Bears receivers. We haven't even brought up Keenan Allen. Okay, that's because you know how Keenan Allen played. We hardly heard from him. Would have had an advantage on the Patriots corners not named Christian Gonzalez. Well, they didn't. They all balled out. Awesome job by them. So what would NFL film say? Well, Patriots coming off that loss to Tennessee. Drake Maye making a name for himself. Well, what he's got to do is obviously step up to the plate in Chicago and go head-to-head with Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick. I bet this segment and this part of our fictitious documentary, documenting the Patriots 2024 season, all at NFL Films, starts with a midweek press conference from Drake Maye. And he's talking about, I've known Caleb Williams since high school, and we used to go to camps and this and that. And you always get a little extra juice. This is the quote, when you go against a fellow rookie like that. Well, boom, here we go. And I think they start with the big throw to Hooper, right? Because if you're going to talk about the quarterbacks and lead up to this game, you got to throw some highlights. But then you get to the first Caleb Williams sack, which I think was on the second play of the game, if I have it in my notes correctly. Then you get another Caleb Williams sack. Then you go to Drake Maye throwing that touchdown pass to Jalen Polk, and the Pats are pulling ahead. And at some point, there's a line about the defense or the veterans, the older players crashing the freshman's party. Because, of course, we all know this game was about the Patriots defense. And it's sacks, and it's a pass breakups. All the celebration on the sideline. You fast forward 19-3, maybe like a Monsters of the Midway reference. But that's how NFL Films documents this game. Heavy on the quarterbacks. Then we pivot to the defense. And a big celebration in the locker room because the Patriots are 3-7 and an overtime away from being on a 3-game win streak. All right. Mailbag. We got to start with our, I was going to say our guy. We'll just go with our frog. Ice Frog says, quote, "Hi, Andrew, winning 2 out of 3 now. Do you think a team identity is forming? Will Pats fans come out of the season feeling optimistic about Mayo and the trajectory?" First of all, I need to stop you there. I maybe it's just from spending too much time on Twitter. I don't know what it would take for Pats fans to feel optimistic about Mayo. Granted, if they run the table and finish, what would that be? 10-7? Yes, everyone's on board. 9-8, 8-9, 7-10 probably. But they're in a bad place about their first-year coach, who's made a lot of PR blunders, which we talked about way too much. So I have no idea how Pats fans are going to feel about Mayo. But the trajectory of the team's young talent, first of all, yes, an identity is forming. This is the diversified run game, heavy deep play action offense, paired with a defense that wants to play man-to-man and will get a little bit creative with their pressures. And that's how they want to play. Man-on-man football. And they don't have the talent to knock people back, but we can play a little bit tougher. We can play a little bit smarter. Oh, and I mentioned this earlier. Didn't really get into the details on this. Jalen Polk's touchdown, another pass, by the way, play action pass from 12 personnel. When they're bigger, they're better. They have the run fake. He initially blocks down on a linebacker. Okay, holds that for a good 1 to 2 seconds. The corner across from him, Tyreek Stevenson, again, basically gave up the Hail Mary, was taunting fans, all that. Looks at him. He goes, oh, okay, he's blocking. Then looks to where Ramondre Stevenson went in the line. In that time, Polk leaks out into the flat. This was something he told me post-game. They circled and said, this is a weakness for them. Yeah, they got the 3rd-ranked red zone defense. That's cool. We know they're susceptible to this. And maybe it was just him. Okay, I don't know. But they cracked that defense in a key spot to give themselves a lead. And that's film study. That's being a smarter team. That's what they did to score there. So, yes, I think that's their identity. How often can you live up to that? I mean, consistency is the hardest part of life, right? Like, not everyone wants to roll out of bed every single time at 6 a.m. if you're a runner or you do whatever, right? But that defines who you are. The Patriots surprised us on Sunday. If they do it again, that's more consistency. That's closer to identity. That's when they can tell us who they are as opposed to us telling them who they are, because so far we've been right, but a lot of season to go. All right. That took too long. Pat, quote, did the offensive performance versus the Bears provide positive indicators of development, or is the whole team, quote, ass? Look, the Bears are ass, but again, when you set a season high for yards, you reestablish the run, you're hitting off of play action, getting close to things that I was telling you in the spring. This is how they want to play. This is what it's going to look like. We don't see that for 2 months, and it finally pops up. That has to be positive, right? Not just because you've won 2 out of 3. The young quarterback's getting more experience. You finally settled on an offensive line. Like, there are underlying things here driving the results that I think are sound enough that you can say that there are indicators of development. It doesn't mean that development is always going to be linear, because growth is not. We all have our ups and downs, but if they're trending in the right direction, which they certainly have been the last 3 weeks, that is progress. And that's what we've seen here so far, with no promise of what comes tomorrow. But so far, yes, Pat. The answer is yes. Carlos, hey, Andrew, what would you say Drake Maye did really well yesterday? He, of course, had eye-opening plays, but it didn't feel like an impressive day for the offense. The defense definitely impressed more. Thank you. Always so polite, Carlos. What would I say he did well? Said this already. I'll reiterate it again. His pressure to sack ratio was 9.1%. Okay. How often in life do you let bad situations get worse? Drake Maye, his answer is very rarely, which is great for a team that's dealing with a lot of bad situations. The other part, again, was the ball handling and the fakes on play action, which no one wants to go back and rewatch and study. But some of us do that for a living. So I will tell you, if you feel so inclined to watch the way that he's faking not only the handoff, but hiding the ball as he turns around, then identifies where he needs to go with the ball. This is all much better than it was a few weeks ago. It's a hell of a lot better than it was back in the summer. When, again, I will remind folks, he was definitively, statistically, eye test worse than Jacoby Brissett for the first 3 weeks of training camp. Not a huge knock on him. I wasn't killing him for it in training camp, because training camp was training camp. But that's a real thing that happened, and it underscores how much growth he's made over the last few months. So anyway, those 2 answers: his response to pressure in the play action. We'll say it one more time: ball handling. Lawrence, hey, Andrew. On the near interception in the end zone, was Maye playing the wind, or did he just throw behind Henry? I feel like if I was a golf person, this is where I would say, oh, I'm always playing the wind in those shots that I hit into the woods. I'm not. But he was not playing the woods. He just missed it. It was behind Henry. That was I don't want to say reckless throw, because it was there and he just missed it. But you understand the situation. Hey, if we get a field goal here, and they did, 16-3 is a big, because now it's a 2-touchdown game versus a 2-possession game had they turned the ball over. Whether you believe in momentum or not, can't turn the ball over there. Need some points. They almost came up empty because of that near pick. He was not playing the wind. They were playing within wind. I think you can factor that. How much, I don't know. But no, he just missed it. Quarterbacks miss throws. That's what happened. Ed, quote, what are you liking about Pat's games these days? That is, I prepared this list of questions to read, and Ed, I did not prepare a great answer for you. I will tell you, I love that. I like that there's football. I like that there's a young quarterback that we all get to study and learn about together, and not just us on the outside, right? Like, the biggest story, aside from the defense and the 9 sacks, to come out of Sunday was the speech he gave after Wednesday's practice, and just stood up in front of the offense after asking Alex Van Pelt, hey, can I stand up in front of the offense? And saying that wasn't good enough. We got to be better. None of his teammates knew he was going to do that. He hadn't done that yet. I didn't know he had done that until Sunday, when all the teammates were talking about it. Now, granted, if they had more penalties and lost, or it was a close game where they won just like 10-9, is it as big of a story? No, probably not. But I love learning about that kid, because the more that I learn, the more that I love, and said in a very professional sense. But you get what I mean. Like, Maye is the story. He's the reason for hope. He is the season right now, and slowly he's taking over the team. So there are more fun stuff, and charting the Patriots are in one cross, or they're playing one robber, and this is how much they're blitzing and playing man coverage. Like, I still enjoy that, but Drake Maye, I think, is the answer for everybody, whether you go big picture or granular. So that's my answer too. A few more. Just here for Patriots updates. My man says, for your Rams preview, this man loves to get into the details. What is your run/pass percentage? Verse and Fisk for the Rams are explosive, but they do look like they struggle in run defense. Two very good pass rushers. It's going to be a short week for the Rams. I'm interested to see if the Pats try and out physical the Rams for a low score win. So they're still playing as I record right now. And again, I was hate watching that game. Was watching for work, to be clear. Like, these are the Patriots next to opponents. It's good. We should all watch. And we're all going to want games like that on a Monday in May. But I do think your point about trying to wear in the Rams physically, okay, it will be week 11. They'll be coming off of a short week. Their cross-country flight are all really important. Now, you can't wear on the Rams if you give up control of the game and, let's say, have a pick six, or you muff a punt and they recover and you're down 10-0, right? Because then they dictate to you how they're going to play. Run, play action, drop back pass, whatever it is. So the Patriots still need to start fast in a way that they did against Chicago. Then you can lean on them, right? So that first part is key. I wouldn't just jump into, we want to have the 60-40 run split. I don't know what it'll be, but I will tell you, the first down percentage, first down run rate that I mentioned, I think they would love to get to that 68% again, and especially have the success rate. Again, how often on first down? 40% of the yards gained or more. Are you getting above that? We'll keep it short. Is it 4 yards or more? They did that almost 3/4 of the time. Yes, they would love those percentages. As far as Sunday against the Rams, we'll see. Gary getting funny. On a scale of 1 to Alanis Morissette, how ironic is it that Bill Belichick may have actually found not one, but two NFL wide receivers in the draft on his way out the door? So Kayshon Boutte and DeMario Douglas, I first of all, I love the question. Second of all, it's I think his name's Jeff. I think Jeff is going to kill me for saying it's still too early about Kayshon Boutte. And I get that he's playing 97% of the snaps and he's got a team high in targets and yada, yada. I am just curious where he would fit into like a normal receiving core in the NFL. That being said, I will sign off on Pop Douglas being a legit NFL receiver. As far as the irony, I'm trying to think of an Alanis album name that's not, greatest hits. But it's up there. It's closer to Alanis than it is to one. A man who struggled to do this most of his legendary Hall of Fame, all-time best coach ever career, finally does it, and now he can't get to watch it and enjoy them. Dave, will you start posting on Blue Sky? Yes, Dave. That is on my list for this week. And, folks who are very loyal to Twitter or Facebook or this, I would just say, look, we could all be in a bunch of places. Not leaving X, not leaving Twitter. I am going to try to grow more of a following there on different platforms. I've not done a great job of that on my personal YouTube channel, but subscribe anyway, because all these episodes are up there. I will be on Blue Sky. How quickly, I don't know, but I will post elsewhere so that you know when that happens. Kenny V. Cole, what was the logic behind sidelining Kendrick Bourne in favor of KJ Osborne? Statistically, Bourne has caught more balls thrown his way and has fewer drops and is under contract beyond 2025. It would seem to make sense that he gets the veteran snaps. So, Kenny, I will answer your question by starting right here in this office at 6 a.m. on Saturday, because this is the start of Travel Tales, and you'll see why this makes sense in a second. So, Travel Tales, this is where away games, I take you a little bit behind the scenes. I did this as a one-off. Overwhelmingly positive feedback. And so we're going to keep doing it even when it's like a fairly tame weekend, which was this weekend. So I wake up at 5. My guy Doug Kyde picks me up very kindly, drives us both to Logan, flight at 7, go out to Chicago, land, Uber to the hotel. I had not been to Chicago since 2018. Patriots played the Bears 38-24 in a game they won in their last Super Bowl season. Cordell Patterson had a kick return touchdown. Adrian Claiborne ran behind the quarterback a million times because Mitch Trubisky shredded the Patriots for a while. Anyway, I'm looking forward to Chicago because we are staying right downtown. It's a River North area. And because we got in so early, the room's not ready yet. So Doug and I get a workout in, about an hour at the room. Room at that point for us is ready, changed, good to go. We're going to go get a beef sandwich. We're going to walk around, see the Beam, Millennium Park, Navy Pier, meet up with some other beat guys. We're landing around 3 to 4 p.m. And then I get a text from someone asking me why Kendrick's not playing this weekend. And this person is close with Kendrick. And I'm going, well, that's information to me. So I call and learn from them that Kendrick, that I tweeted this out Sunday, had recently been told, hey, you are not going to play in all likelihood on Sunday. And there was a chance he was even going to be inactive. And obviously, everyone knows the Patriots are trying to play more Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, Javon Baker, receivers in their first or second season. Bourne also was coming off of a game in which he ran 2 comeback routes, as we talked about on this podcast, short of the sticks, including one on third down that forced the Patriots to punt. Details you just can't have. The week before, he had 2 drops. That being said, the same guy, and Kenny, you just rattled off some stats. Here's a stat. Kendrick had played 78% of the snaps at Tennessee. He played 78% of the snaps against the Jets, and he was the second leading receiver against the Titans. So it does feel like it came out of left field. But he was told right up front by the staff, this is our plan. This is what we feel like. And it was part performance, in part that they're just trying to develop the young kids. And so I obviously, with this tip, start writing a story, draft a tweet. And Doug and I are sitting in the hotel room, like, okay, see if you can confirm this. You get it from somebody else, because you're not just going to run with one person. Stuff can get lost in translation. Stuff is just rumor. Okay, you got to nail it down. So we sit there with plans to go see Chicago and do all these things for 30 minutes, and then 60 minutes, and then 90 minutes. And at that point, Doug does, to go meet a friend, not hearing back from anyone else, follow up with the first person. They don't have much more. And so I had this story written, put it on my phone and say, okay, it's about 3:00 now. We've DoorDashed our beef sandwich that we were supposed to go out and get, and watching the end of Miami, Georgia Tech, and nothing happens. And so fast forward to the game, a couple more details going around town here in a second. Kendrick is not playing. Follow up with my original source and say, hey, this is going out. Like, this is what he was told. Can you confirm that? And this person has been very reliable for me over the years. Known Kendrick a long time. And so I told you what I knew and what I could say for certain at that point, with a little bit more confirmation from that person. So that's what went out. He did not play. And this is the editorial part for me, is to say that, look, everyone understands what's going on in that building. They're rebuilding. You're going to play the young kids. And KJ Osborne was someone that they shopped, couldn't deal. He sits in Tennessee, does not play a snap. And that's someone that Alex Van Pelt has told us he appreciates most as being a professional in that room. And as much as they're going to play the kids, they need the kids that grow up at the same time. So they value, the staff does, guys like Osborne being professional on a day-to-day basis. But at some point, you lose buy-in from veterans who are not playing, who are not here, who are losing a lot of games, if they don't get a little reward. So my bet, my editorial, my opinion here is that they said, okay, the way Kendrick's come down with the route details and recent drops, KJ will kind of throw you a bone here. If it's close, Ty will go to KJ. He just said, Kendrick, we know you're bought in. We know you're under contract. We know you're going to be cheerleader number 1 on the sidelines, even if you think this sucks, because that's the kind of guy you are. You will sit this week and you'll be receiver number 6. And again, there was a period where I thought he might be inactive on Sunday. He was not. They kept him on the active roster, but for all intents and purposes, he was inactive on game day because he didn't play a single snap. Moving forward, I would not be surprised, just guessing, that they might choose to alternate Bourne and Osborne, because we know Demario Douglas is going to play, Kayshon Boutte is going to play, Jalen Polk is going to play, and they're really trying to get snaps for Javon Baker. But this is an offense that still wants to play mostly with 2 receivers and 2 tight ends. So there are only so many snaps that can go around, and Tyquan Thornton's walking around somewhere. So that's not a whole lot of room for one veteran who's not asserting himself to say, these snaps are mine, I deserve them, you're playing better with me. Neither of those guys, Bourne or Osborne, has done that. So that's my thought on them. Moving forward, we'll see. I would not have made the switch, for the record, going from Bourne to Osborne. But I think if the guys put in the work and they think they'll get similar production, that's where you start to play games a little bit more, because their most important part is to give more snaps to Polk, Boutte, and Douglas, all guys who were younger than 25 and in their first or second year in the league. All right, so I leave. I got the story on my phone in case somebody gets back to me, ready to hit publish, ready to tweet, got the graphic, all those things. Doesn't happen. Instead, leave the hotel, go out closer towards the Bean in Millennium Park. Plan is later to see a friend from home, or not from home, from a small newspaper I used to work at in Pennsylvania 12 years ago. And his uncle, the late Doug Buffon, was like a Bears legend. You know, basically their souped up version of Zoe. And then he played and had the franchise record for interceptions for guys who played linebacker, then did radio and becomes this kind of like local legend in that way, as more part of the media, as more of the very loose analogy that we just had there. Anyway, he's in town. I want to see him. Haven't seen him for years. Stop at Chicago Brew House. Shout out my guy who came over to say hello and was sitting with someone in a UConn shirt. Appreciate you saying hello. Watch the end of Miami, Georgia Tech there. Again, still checking the phone, seeing if anyone's going to hit me up. Doesn't happen. See the Bean. Love being around the river, by the way. I don't know what it is about the city. Maybe it's living in Boston. the thing that struck me most was probably the stupidest thing that I'll say in this podcast. Damn, Chicago's tall. Okay. Like the architecture along the river is all very different, and the details and the buildings is cool. And this is, again, person who's not been to Chicago in 7 years, only been 3 times in their life, not really getting into the weeds here. But just a very, very different look and vibe and atmosphere to kind of like the heart of a city. So love Millennium Park, bounced around, beer or two here, there, zip all the way out back close to O'Hare to meet my friend at the Murray Brothers Caddy Shack in Rosemont. It's attached to a Crown Plaza. It's basically like a hotel restaurant, but great to see him. Uber back, meet up with Doug, the guys from Mass Live, Mark Daniels and Chris Mason. Headquarters Beercade. Here's the recommendation. If you're going to Chicago and like me and have not been there in multiple years, go to Headquarters Beercade, play NFL Blitz 99, have one hell of a time. Do not play darts with Chris Mason, who is a dart shark. He just blew everyone out of the water. Anyway, we're out there till like midnight, 12:30, get up early. Uber to Soldier Field. For my money, the weirdest stadium, not just because of the look, and we talked about this last week. Alien ship just descended and dropped on a Roman temple. It's that there's hardly any parking. People don't really tailgate around there. Our Uber dropped us off at the downslope of an off-ramp. Said, you have to get out and walk here. Oh, okay. Did enjoy the atmosphere in there. Met and saw my friend, again, who's basically connected to kind of Bears royalty, and good to catch up with him. And the Patriots won. So that was it. Been watching film since in Chicago, back home. This is the end of the podcast. Hope that gave you some more information. We will be back as always later this week with a guest. Guest is TBD. In the meantime, if you're still listening this long, drop us a review. Man, we're collecting dust over there on Apple. Okay, 5 stars, a little bit of feedback, or email me a Callahan at Boston Herald. But really, we want the ratings and the reviews. Thank you for listening. We'll be back later this week, and I hope you enjoyed your Victory Monday.